all classes have really liked the project. So that's been neat.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome.
And our injuries weren't from what I expected. It's like I had encountered injuries with the cutters or the scissors. Those were my fears.
So, well, excited to have our Wednesday tips and tricks. Today, we're talking all about groups. And I'm excited to show you some of my favorite ways to utilize the group functionality within Bulb. So I'm going to start off by showing you how to access your groups. From your main portfolio page, when you click on the hamburger menu in the upper right-hand corner, you'll get a drop down, and over to the left next to your activity feed is a menu called Groups. Now, depending on how you have your account, Bulb may be syncing with your student information system, and you might see some of your class groups already populated for you in here. You also have the ability to be able to create your own groups. So you can click on the blue Create Group button here and name your group. We have also an option where you can import your class roster, all the email addresses from the kids that are in your Google Classroom, as well in terms of being able to create a group. And once you create a group, let me go back and show you what it looks like. This is what a group looks like. You have your members listed here. And you can go and click on anyone's name and easily be able to go and see any of the portfolio content that they have published and made available to you. The other tab within groups is the content section. And this is really where I want to focus today, on how to best utilize this feature within groups. So content is really like a digital bulletin board. So as individual users have their portfolios and are creating pages and collections within their own portfolios, they can choose to publish content or page or a collection to the group content section. And once they do, you'll notice Christina Berg and Ellen and Jared and Zach, they have all published content to this first period chairlift group. Now, we created this group for a particular project that we were working on. So this was first period, and we were doing a scientific lab experiment about the center of gravity. And then each person completed that lab and published it back into this group. So that's kind of one of my first tips around groups, is you can create groups around your classes. So first period, second period, but you might also choose to create a group maybe based on a particular topic or project that you're doing. So imagine end of school year, everyone's doing their capstone projects, or maybe an end of the year project. You could create a group, invite everybody into that group and call it your capstones. And then everyone's going to publish their capstones or end of year projects to this group. And then you can have all the students go in and maybe pick 3 other students to go view their capstone projects and leave them a question or a comment. So I could come in here onto Zach's page and read his research project or capstone or whatever project that he's doing and has published to that group. And I can click on any media, so a video or picture or audio file, and be able to leave a comment. So maybe I leave a positive comment, or maybe I ask a question. You know, did this work every time, or can you explain this more? I can also write a general page comment as well. So if I don't want to highlight text or comment on a particular video or piece of media, I could just leave a general page comment down here as well. And then that way I could leave questions, comments, and then the author of this page will get notified of those comments and be able to reply to it as well. And I'll get a notification in my bulb that the author has replied to my question or comment. So it's a great way to create some interaction and some engagement with students around their projects, especially if you might not have time to have everyone stand up in front of the group and be able to deliver a full presentation. Another interesting way to use groups is, and I'm going to show this example from the Long School of Medicine. So every year they do a research project day where all the students present their research. And during COVID, they were looking for some alternative ways to be able to do these poster demonstrations. Usually they all gathered in a particular room, and then people would walk around and kind of hear their presentations. And so they ended up using bulb groups as a way to create a public poster display. So they did it, and they did it a little bit tricky. And so we helped them with this, but it ended up working out really, really well. And this is actually a URL that they shared with the public. And I'm going to show you how they made that happen. But this is a group, and this is the content section in a group. And you'll see all of these students created bulb pages within their own portfolios and then published their bulb pages to both the group and the public. And this is how it displays. You can see all the poster projects here. And then I can come in here and click on it. And you'll notice this poster was a PDF document that they uploaded to their bulb page. So I could read this document. And then they used our audio record feature to actually give the presentation.
I worked with the Residency Research Network of Texas, which is a group of family.
And so as the viewer, I can go in and listen to their presentation. It helps everyone practice their auditory skills. It gives me context, and I get that voice from their poster project. And then again, you'll see a bunch of the questions and dialogue that was happening. Now, they did a big promotional around this event. And so they invited the community and people within that UT Health system to come and view all of the posters. And so you did not have to have a bulb account to be able to view this poster work. You do have to have a bulb account to be able to leave comments, but just to be able to go and view this poster group, we made this all public and live so you could share this out, and anyone who had access to the internet and could click on this link would be able to view any of the posters in here. So you might be wondering around groups, how does that work? I thought groups was a private place, and it is. When you create a group, and you'll see here with that first period chairlift group again, it's a members only group. Only members of this group are participating. But what we did with that UT project was when the students went and published their pages, they published it both to the group and to the public, which allowed us to be able to share that group publicly. So that's the key, and a little bit of different. You can either have a group that's just private, only members can access the work that's published to it, or if you wanted to turn it into a public facing group, the only thing people needed to do is make sure their work was published to the group and to the public. And how you easily do that is if a student in their portfolio creates a page, say a research on volcanoes, and they went over here to publish, they could then make this visible to the public and visible to the group. And as long as they have those two visibility permissions set, then everything in that group that was published to the group and to the public would be able to be seen publicly. So it's kind of a cool way to turn in-person poster projects into virtual displays. So those are great for like science fairs and other kinds of poster events that you might be interested in doing as well. So going back to our groups again, I'm just going to show you a couple other features. Again, remember when you're creating your groups, you have your members here. And if I'm the owner of the group and I've created the group, I can add members either by email or username, or just give my students or anybody who I want to be a member the group code. If I give them the group code, then they're just going to go into their groups. And instead of creating a group, they're just going to click join a group and enter that group code there. And now they can become a member of that group. So it's really easy to get your students to be members of your group, for you to create a group around a project or end of year work that you're doing. The big thing to know about the content section is that, unlike in your portfolio, when you can organize your work with collections and keep things kind of organized, collections are like folders. The content section in a group doesn't have that organizational structure. And so every time an individual member of the group publishes to the group, it just creates a new tile here, and it just adds one to the end. The last one in kind of is in the last one in the group. So just something to be aware of. That's why I recommend using groups for like one particular project and being able to have a group, because then that's the way that you can kind of categorize and keep all of those capstones together. All right. That was kind of my favorite tips in the ways that you can use groups for end of year projects and capstones and presentations. And those end of year presentations are great as a final authentic assessment at the end of the year. So having students create their projects within Bulb and then having them published to the group and allowing them to get feedback from their peers, or again, if they publish that group to the public, even being able to get outside feedback and questions on pages is a great way to do an end of the year assessment as well. I hope that you learned a bunch about groups and maybe even willing to give it a try. If you have any questions around groups, you can always come to our help pages. We have great help pages. You can also see some of our videos on YouTube that'll cover all of our group functionality. And if you have any further questions, you can always email help@bulbapp.com.